Hello. This is a way different video than usual, but this is more of just a devlog to kind of show off what I'm working on. Over here on my cursor is my first monitor. This is the original project, and over here I'm using ParallSync, so I have a copy of the project over here so I can test a multiplayer connection. So what I've implemented recently is, well, I'm working on the movement, and using that with commands and like input is just way too slow, so I wanted to implement something that's better, and I started out with just like correction, so that you can't travel above a certain speed. But the issue with that is I never made it. It was always a fixed rate. Like I never made it correlate to the actual movement speed. So what I'm implementing now, on top of that, to run before it, I think it's in this. So these are server variables that can never be changed by the client and are only used by the server. So ignore these four. It should be kind of self-explanatory. These are the prediction variables. It kind of runs off the screen, so you can't really see it, but this is the prediction like magnitude tolerance, and this is the same thing but for distance. So it's like the server is getting messages from client saying this is my velocity and this is the direction of my velocity and this is where I am right now. So then that takes time to get to the server, and then the server has to process that, and then what goes on from there is it compares the current distance and current velocity and such, and it uses the velocity to make like a variable that is the possible distance that you're able to travel, so that you have this distance now that you cannot travel above. And so what this prediction distance tolerance is the value of like leadway that you have. So to account for latency and things like maybe a CPU is just running faster than normal, causing the game to run a little bit faster. So this is just to account for that. And this is what it looks like in practice. So I'm gonna run a server and a client over here. I have not fixed multiplayer for this, and I haven't made a spray pattern that isn't just to the right. So this is only working on the host right now, and if I fire it'll crash the client. But let's look at the client now. So you can see these two players are working together. They can see each other. This one's the server that I'm looking at, and so my position is updated every what units is it? I think it's like 0.01 units that I move. And if it is, it uses these prediction values, and if it's above, then it'll start snapping me. So right now nothing's happening. There's no prediction being made, it's just kind of updating me. If I start to sprint, these values, I've tested them a little bit and they should be good. So yeah, see, nothing's wrong, it's all working. I haven't fixed jumping yet, but that's completely different code, so I'm not worrying about it. So what we're gonna do now is simulate a cheat. So if I take the AK-47 item I have, the only item I have right now, I can change its max movement velocity while holding it. And that's client-sided, since a lot of these variables can't be sent, like these audio clips and stuff, and the animators can't be sent over the network. So this is all saved in the client. So if I up this, it'll start to make me progressively get faster. So I'll take 275, let's bump it up to 276. I have not actually seen what this does yet, but as you can see, that actually works surprisingly well. I'm getting a tiny bit of like correction. I'm not walking in the same direction when I turn because the server is accounting for my velocity and stuff. It just starts fucking with it, and it just progressively gets worse. If I up this to 280, which is what I tested it at, I completely get sent backwards. And if I sprint, which will double that, it just gets worse and worse. And the server, if I look at this client, you can see that I'm still moving at a normal speed for the most part, and it's not allowing me to travel above that speed. I have not tested this. Let's up it to 300, which is 25 units of magnitude. Well, my units that I'm using, completely different. But yeah, so I'm moving, and even just walking around, it seems relatively normal from the server's point of view. I'm just like skipping a little bit, but from my point of view on the client, I can't move forward that well. If I turn, it just gets really messed up. If I sprint, that's another story. Completely doesn't let you, depending on your velocity at the time and such. And I can just keep racking this up. Let's go to 350 maybe. So walking around, yeah, seems to be working decent. It's maybe not perfect because of the leadway, but I'll start sprinting, and here we go. Absolutely does not let me. And I am still traveling at possible speed with the movement multiplier and actual velocity of the gun on the server side. It does not let me. You can see me skipping a tiny bit when I walk on both the client and the server, and when I run, you can really see it. So now the goal next to implement is to add a lerp function so that the skipping on the server side, so all the skipping I'm doing right now, I want to make it so that that smoothly interpolates between along with the hitbox, so then I'll get smooth movement. Like if I change this minimum distance value, then I'll start to get updates at a slower, not a slower rate. I mean, yeah, but like, see, I'm snapping a little bit, and as I progressively make it more and more, it's still updating the velocity, but you know, now it's just absolute shit, thanks to prediction and blah 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 blah. But that's my next goal at the moment, to make that work. And there's another demonstration. If I keep this and I just turn up this, let's add a little bit more like distance. Let's give it like, I don't know, let's just say 1. Why not? It doesn't really matter. If we're trying to just like test it at a really bad value, then here we go. We'll up that to 0.5. So now we have a lot of leadway on the client, and movement should actually be a little bit smoother than normal, even if you're not cheating, but that's just a byproduct of it. If I move up to 300, you'll see I don't really snap. It's letting me move really fast on the server, and the only thing stopping me from doing anything is really this maximum magnitude and this maximum distance, which both are pretty unrealistic. They're kind of just like a last measure. Let's move it up to 350. And I'm getting a little bit of rubber banding. Let me up this even more. I'll up it to like 10, 10. Why not? So, maybe we need more. I'll just completely max it out. Okay, yeah, so now I'm allowed to just move at whatever speed I want according to the client, which is really not good for the server, because I can sprint like this and it'll let me, because the tolerance is way too high for it to do anything. And I can just progressively keep getting faster. Let's see if 500 works. Yep. But then as I lower this, maybe not that value, about 0.5, 0.25, I'll set it to 0.25, and immediately you can tell that something is wrong on the client side, because I'm skipping back and forth from whether I'm going fast or not, which is just a byproduct of not having the prediction low enough. If I keep lowering this, you'll just see it gets better and better until eventually we're on the default values again. And just like that, anti-cheat. If I sprint, it just keeps getting worse. If you go super fast, it should just not let me move, like barely let me move at all. Oh. I think my client actually crashed. Looks like it's still processing inputs on the server though. But yeah, you can see pretty much doesn't let me move. I'll change this back to 500. Nah, entire camera froze, but you can see. Doesn't work. Doesn't let you. Let's try a different cheat. So we're gonna simulate, instead of doing it from the rifle, we're gonna go back into our movement multiplier, which is what dictates like sprint speed over the server. Let me just check what my default values for this were. 0.01. Okay, so this should be working nice and smooth, no real issues, except for I can't jump because I haven't implemented it yet. Yeah. So now let's go, we're gonna find a local player, which is this one. Now what we're gonna do is we're going to look for something, let's say, why not the sprint multiplier? Let's just make that like, I don't know, something ridiculous, 10. So I'm walking normal, sprint, and nothing happens. Why is this? The actual movement multiplier variable is server-sided. So the server dictates everything that happens to like multiply this and all these values. So even if the client has this set, it's only going to work on the server, because if I go back to the server, my sprint multiplier is still 1.5, which makes sense. Let's look at, how about stamina deplete rate. Nah, let's look at acceleration. I actually haven't tested this one. So if I make my acceleration maybe 50 milliseconds approximate. So yeah, I'm just a little bit snappy. I don't really think that does much, to be honest. Yeah, it's whatever. How about let's look at I actually don't really know what I should be looking at. I think that's really all you can modify in here, to be honest. Like the stamina deplete rate, if I change that to 0 and replenish to 100 or something, it doesn't work because it's all server-sided. Same deal. Yeah. There's my first devlog. Well, maybe first. I had a few small clips before this, but yeah. Pretty cool, in my opinion. See you guys.